everyone, and welcome back to my channel. As you guys can tell by the title of today's video, we are going to be doing another monthly wrap-up. So let's go ahead and get started. If you are interested in following along with my Booksta journey, I actually just hit 1 year on my Bookstagram. I didn't even realize it was in March. It was literally March 1st, and then I didn't post for like 2 months. And then I officially started posting again in June. But technically my Bookstaversary was March 1st and I missed it. So I've officially been on there a year, and I actually just did a little giveaway. So I plan on doing a lot more soon. I'm at like 700 followers, I think. Once I hit 1K, I want to do a big giveaway on there. So if you're not following me yet on my Bookstagram, go ahead and follow it. I think I'm gonna link it down below, and then also I'll put like something on here on the screen so you guys can go ahead and check it out. And yeah, we have lots of fun over there. That's usually where I post my book reviews, and I'm very active on stories. And if you have a book account, definitely follow me so I can check yours out as well, because I love having my feed be full of like bookish content. So yeah, but anyways, let's keep going with today's video. So this month I actually only have 2 physical copies of the books that I read for the month of April. The rest of them I used my Kindle, so I went to the Libby app, which is pretty much borrowing digital books from your local library. You just need a little library card, and you do have your books for 21 days. But what I love to do, which I recommend that you do this, is once you're done reading them, you return them, so that way the next person who is waiting to read the book can get it as soon as possible, because sometimes it takes forever to just like get a book. I know a lot of people love to turn off their like airplane, or turn on airplane mode on their Kindle so they can keep the books for as long as possible, but I feel like that way it's just like not that nice for the next person that's waiting for the book. But I mean, you can do whatever you want. I just personally recommend that you just return it as soon as possible, just to be kind to the next person. So that's what I did. So I don't have the books like on my Kindle anymore, but I do have the book covers on Goodreads on my phone, so I'll be showing you guys those. But I didn't read that many books this month actually, or this past month, because I have been obsessed with Animal Crossing. My husband actually bought me, what was it for? I think it was for International Women's Day. Yeah, so he bought me a Switch, the Switch Lite, and it's the one that came like with the game in it. We do have the big Switch, but it was like so hard for me to like hold it and just be comfortable because it's so big and I have like little hands. So he surprised me with that, and I got the game. So I've been obsessed with that. I've been like playing it so much. My island is looking gorgeous, if I do say so myself. I actually have 4 stars. I'm trying to get to 5 stars, but I hear like that's like really hard to do, so I don't know, but we'll see. But I haven't been reading as much, but I did still read a few books, so I'm excited to share them with you, because I think I had some 5 stars, like 4 or 5 stars. I don't think I read a book that I didn't like at all this month. So let's go ahead and dive into the books. So the first book that I read for the month of April was The Bromance Book Club by Lisa K. Adams. This was actually a book club pick for my local library's like romance book club, and it looks like I ended up giving this book a 4-star rating, 4 out of 5 stars. I actually really enjoyed this book. It was super cute, super romantic, and both of the main characters, like the whole time I feel like I was just rooting for them to like get back together, to like make it work. And then I loved the other characters in the book. They were just so hilarious and so funny, and I feel like they were, I don't know, they were just like good characters. This is a series. The rest of the series I think follows each like guy character in the Bromance Book Club, but let me explain to you guys what this book is about. So the 2 main characters in this book are Gavin and Thea. They are married. Gavin is a Major League Baseball player, and he was just always away because obviously he's like famous and he's an athlete, so he was just like always working. And his wife, really early on in their marriage, I think actually, I'm not sure, I can't remember if she had her kids like right before they got married or like right after they got married, but pretty much around their marriage. So they had really, they had kids really early on, and so she just kind of lost her identity, I guess, in a sense, when she became a mom. And then on top of that, her husband, like I said, Gavin, is an athlete, so he was always gone. He was like a good guy and everything. They just lost each other in the busyness of life. They are in bed together, and she's faking the big O, is what they say in the book. And he like realizes that she's faking it, and so he asks her like, have you been faking it this whole time in our marriage? And she's kind of like, yeah. But she gets upset that he also gets upset at her, because she's kind of like, you never took the time to like really like connect with me on a deeper level. And she was kind of like, fine, if you want to leave, you can leave. And girls, a lot of the time, we know when we say like, leave me alone, or like, it's fine, it's not fine. So we don't want our man to be like, oh, okay, she wants me to go, or like, she's fine. No, we're not fine. We're just saying that we're fine, but we're not fine. So anyways, Gavin is like, okay, so then he leaves, but obviously she wanted him to fight for the marriage, fight for their relationship, and like stay. So they end up separating, and he's like living somewhere else. Thea's little sister comes and moves in with her, and they have twins, so she's the cool auntie. The twins love her, and she like doesn't like Gavin because she's just like, you've never really been that great of a husband to my sister. And they also have like drama and just like lots of just stuff, like backstory stuff with their parents. So that's also like plays a big role in both of their, like, I guess, relationships. So Gavin ends up leaving and, well, separating, and so he's living somewhere else, but he's just like so sad and like, I don't want to lose my wife, like, why is this happening? He just doesn't understand, because pretty much their whole like marriage, he's just kind of like been busy, like I said, doing baseball or whatever, and he felt like he was a decent or like adequate husband slash father, but he just was like going through the motions of not really fully being there, if that makes sense. But to him, it was more of like a shock that this was happening too, because he's like, I've always thought like that we were fine, but she was kind of like the whole time just also living through the motions or whatever, and like they just weren't connecting. So she was just like, whatever, like, this is better for us, like, we're separating, it is what it is. But he doesn't want to, so he actually goes to his friends, and they're like, hey dude, we have something that's gonna help your marriage. And pretty much they're all, I think it's like 4 of them, they're all in this bromance book club. Well, it's just a romance book club. Thea's sister actually later labels it as the bromance book club, but they're in this book club where they read romance novels, and they really like the romance novels, and they use a lot of the stuff that they learn in them to like help their relationships. So they pretty much tell them like, hey, you need to read this. And it's super cool because, oh, I thought I had the physical book. It's super cool because I don't know if you can see, but the cover has, so this is the cover, and then that's the cover of the book that they're reading. It's like this historical like romance, and it's so funny because you get to see like the story, like the contemporary romance story in the main book, but then the book also has chapters of the Courting the Countess, I think it's what it's called, of the book that they're reading. So you get a little bit of contemporary romance along with historical romance in this one book. So it's just super funny. The book also has some spice, so like it was really fun. But yeah, the friends are like, hey, read this. This is gonna help you in your marriage. And so he pretty much reads the book and stuff happens, and that's all I'm gonna tell you because I don't want to ruin the rest of the book. I feel like I actually told you guys a lot of detail, and I don't normally do that, but this book was just super funny, super cute. And I will say at the end of the book, it had me feeling like I literally went like, aw, that was cute. Like, I enjoyed it. I don't think it was like this amazing book, but I definitely did really like it, and I do think that I'm gonna be picking up the rest of the series at some point, especially their like Christmas book. I think each book follows like one of the guys in the book club, but I really did enjoy this book. It's very like raw and real in the sense that, even though it's like cheesy romance, in the sense that like they both learn how to, you know, like work on their relationship, and then Thea also ends up like finding herself after like becoming a mom and stuff. So I feel like a lot of people can relate to this book. Like my friend, actually, she doesn't really read romance, but this was like one of her little like first introductions to romance. And she said she really enjoyed it, and she also was like, no, like I felt this book, like I really enjoyed it, because she also just like had a baby. Well, she's gonna be, I think she's 3, she just turned 3 actually, she's super cute. But yeah, so she's also like, no, I really like, that made me think a lot of like me too, and just like how it's been, you know, like trying not to lose myself in the sense that I've like become a mom, but I'm still like me and everything. So I really enjoyed this book, and I definitely do recommend this one. And the next book that I read was Becoming Free Indeed by Ginger Duggar Vuolo. I don't really know how to say her last name. It says, my story of disentangling faith from fear. So if you know 19 Kids and Counting, or Counting On, she is the 3rd, I believe, oldest daughter from what's her mom's name? Michelle, Jim Bob and Michelle Duggar. Okay, so anyways, she got married and she started becoming more, I guess, normal, but she kind of like went a little bit harder than I thought she would go in this book. She could have gone like way harder and been like, this is the life that I live, blah blah blah, and like they did terrible things, because her sisters have been, well, her sister Jill, I believe, has been on like this documentary thing, and she kind of, and she like says on her YouTube stuff like the negative side of their whole religion and their family and the show and everything. But I do like that she was like kind of nice about it, but I'm still surprised that she actually was like pretty honest and like spoke a lot, because I feel like in the show she was always like quiet, and she even talked about that. She was always like, I tried to be super like just good, and I wanted to make sure that I was going to go to heaven, and then God, I was just going to be perfect and this and that. And I just really liked how she just like was super honest. And yeah, I really liked it. I thought it was really good. I used to watch that show with my little sisters, so I just wanted to know, and I'm happy that I read her book. It was pretty good. I rated it 4 out of 5 stars. I'm really happy for her that she just like broke free from that, and she's like, yeah, like, you know, now I know that it's more important that I have a relationship with God, and it's not about like all these things. So I'm really happy for her, and I did enjoy the book. And the next book that I read for the month was Milk Fed by Melissa Broder, I believe is how you say it. This book was very, very different from what I normally read, but it was such an interesting book. It was, the whole time that I was reading, it was, I don't even know what to say, because it was just so interesting, but at the same time so freaking weird, but also at the same time so real. But yeah, no, this was such a good book. I really, really did enjoy it. Sometimes it got a little bit too like, what's happening? But it was still such a good book. I rated it a 4 out of 5 stars. It is not something that I would normally pick up like at all, but this was a book club pick, so I picked it up. Well, you guys know from the library, I didn't purchase it, but I am so happy that I read this, because it was really interesting. I feel like this is the type of book where as you're reading it, you like don't want to put it down, because it has very short chapters and it's just like very intriguing and entertaining. So you just want to like keep reading. So this book is pretty much about this woman. She's like, I think she's like 23, 24, 25, something like that. This book, let me just read it, because it's, I don't know. I don't think I'm gonna give it a good description. So it says, a scathingly funny, wildly erotic, and fiercely imaginative story about food, sex, and God from the acclaimed author of the Pisces, blah, blah. Okay, hold on. Rachel is 24, a lapsed Jew who has made calorie restriction her religion. By day, she maintains an illusion of existential control by way of obsessive food rituals while working as an underling at a Los Angeles talent management agency. At night, she pedals nowhere on the elliptical machine. Rachel is content to carry on subsisting? Yeah. Until her therapist encourages her to take a 90-day communication detox from her mother, who raised her in the tradition of calorie counting. Early in the detox, Rachel meets Miriam, a saftig young Orthodox Jewish woman who works at her favorite frozen yogurt shop and is intent upon feeding her. Rachel is suddenly and powerfully entranced by Miriam, by her Sundays and her body, her faith and her family, and as the two grow closer, Rachel embarks on a journey marked by mirrors, mysticism, mother's milk, and honey. Pairing superlative emotional insight with unabashed vivid fantasy, Broder tells a tale of appetites, physical hunger, sexual desire, spiritual longing, and the ways that we as humans can compartmentalize these so often. Interdependent instincts. Milkfed is a tender and rituously funny meditation on love, certitude, and the question of what we are all being fed, from one of our major writers on the psyche, both sacred and profane. So yeah, this book was very intense at certain points. Also, another thing, she was like always so obsessed with her food, obviously because she has an ED, but she actually made me hungry. Like I was reading this book when I was at the pool one day, and I texted my husband to DoorDash me a sandwich, and he did, and he bought the biggest sandwich so that I could like eat half and then save him the rest. No girl, I ate the whole thing. Like, I don't know, the way that she was describing food just made me so hungry, but also it was so sad because the way she was describing food just made the food sound so delicious, but she was just like, I can't have this. And yeah, but then later obviously she like works on herself and stuff. I will say I didn't love the ending. I just wish it had been a little bit of a different ending, and I think we all kind of thought the same thing, but it was still definitely an interesting book, and I'm glad I picked it up. Like I said, the chapters are really short, so they just kind of want to keep you reading, but yeah, or you want to keep reading. But yeah, I super recommend this book. I really liked it. Just definitely trigger warning, be warned that it does talk about EDs and just like harsh relationship that she has with her mother, and yeah, there's just like a few triggers in this, but I still would recommend the book. So the next book that I read was The Last Love Note by Emma Gray. This was actually the book club pick for my book club. Your girl started a book club and it's been so much fun. We just had our first meeting, and for May we're gonna have our second one. I'm so excited, and I will definitely be sharing with you guys. I have a little like video going that I'm working on, so I'll be sharing with you soon, so stay tuned for that. This was the book that we picked for my book club, and it was a really good book. It is a romance story, but it's not like your typical cheesy or like rom-com romance. The author, she's actually very sweet. She sent us a little message for our book club, and her husband actually passed away at a very young age, and she wrote this book like after that. And the main character in this book, Kate, she actually loses her husband as well at a very young age, and this book was not what I thought it was going to be. In the beginning, you kind of think it's going to be like your typical cheesy romance, like she meets this new guy and she's gonna fall in love with him, but then she has this other guy that she loves, and like who's she gonna choose? But it's not really like that, and it just ends up being more like real. It's definitely very emotional, but what I did really love about this book was that even though it's so emotional and the main character, she goes through a lot, but it still had a lot of humor in it, so it was a really good book. I really enjoyed it. I'm gonna read the back to you guys in case you guys are interested. 2 years after losing her husband, Cameron, Kate is a bit of a mess. Lurching from one comedic crisis to the next, she does her best to navigate work, friendships, and parenting a 5-year-old without Cam's support. When a flight diversion on a business trip unexpectedly leaves her stranded in a beach town in Australia, Kate finally has a chance to process her grief. Can she let go of the love of her life and risk her heart a second time? The Last Love Note will make readers laugh, cry, and renew their faith in the resilience of the human heart, recognizing that while you may never stop loving the one you lost, you can always find love again. So while I was reading this book, it honestly, I thought I wasn't gonna like it. It's definitely very like slow, but then in the end it picks up, and I thought my rating was gonna be a 3 stars, but I ended up changing it to a 4 stars because even though it wasn't like the typical romance type of book that I like, and even though it was like a little, I guess you could say depressing because it's sad and she goes through a lot, I still like it because it made me, like it really put me in those, like in her shoes of like, how would I even react, or what would I even do if I lost someone in the way that she loses her husband. I'm not gonna say because you gotta read. Like losing someone that I love in that way, like what would I even do? Like I genuinely do not know like what I would do. And it's crazy because the way that her husband passes away is actually one of the things that I'm like just so scared about. I watch Grey's Anatomy. One of the characters in Grey's Anatomy has it, but it's not like a main character or anything like that. what her husband has, and it's so sad because, well, I don't want to give out too much detail, so I'm not going to say, but I've talked to my husband about this, and I was always like, you know, like these two like things are one of the things that I'm always like so scared of like happening like later on in life. So yeah, it was crazy. When I started reading, I was like, oh dang, that's sad. And so I really appreciate that it just like made me think more and just kind of made me think about a different perspective from someone in life. So I changed my rating back to a 4 out of 5 stars. So I did really like it, but if you're not used to like a slower paced book, or if you're like don't like reading sad things, even though the ending is good, and she like, you know, kind of gets her happy, or she does get her happily ever after, it's still kind of sad. So I would just, you know, warn you on that. But overall, I did enjoy this book, and I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. And the last book that I read for April was The Royals Next Door by Karina Hallie, not sure, I'm so sorry, but this book was so good to me. Like, I loved it. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. It was the perfect like fun, cutesy, just summer romance, especially after reading The Last Love Note, which was like very emotional and just kind of heavy. So this was a really good little palette cleanser. I really enjoyed this one. So this story actually follows Piper Evans, who is an elementary school teacher. She lives on this island in Canada, and she's been there I think for about 5 years, but she doesn't have any friends, so she still feels like an outsider. She actually lives with her mom on what used to be one property, and it got split into half, and it got split into 2 properties. On one side of on one property is this huge mansion, and then where they live is what used to be the servants' quarters for the mansion. So Piper's mom and dad actually got either separated or divorced. I can't quite remember, but her mom is on her own, so that's why she lives with her, because she actually struggles with mental health stuff. So she lives there just to make sure that her mom's good and, you know, just help her out. But they actually live next door to the mansion that's empty, and it's been empty for years now. And the royal couple from England is coming on over because they're looking to get away from the British, tabloid British media, because the princess, technically the Duchess, but she's still a princess in my heart. The Duchess is actually getting like harassed and just treated very badly by the media, and because she's American and she's black, very much giving Prince Harry and Meghan. So they're looking to just like get away for the summer, and they end up renting the house next door to her. They end up bringing along their bodyguard, Harrison Cole, and when the two meet, they do not like each other. Harrison does not like her at all. He thinks that she is a security threat, and they just don't like each other. But of course, there's chemistry there. And so they end up spending the summer together because they live next door to each other. But I love this book so much. It definitely gave me, what is that movie called? Anyone But You? I think that's what it's called. The one with Sydney Sweeney. It was so much fun, and that's what this book reminded me of. The banter between the two and the chemistry and the like. It was just so good. I really enjoyed it. There's also this like little speech that she gives in the end of the story. The main character does, and she talks about how there's a stigma around smut and like romance novels, and how like it's okay for it like in media and in movies and stuff, but when it comes to books, people kind of like look down on it and stuff. So I really appreciated that that the author put that in there, because as a smut lover and romance novel lover myself, like I felt seen. I was like, yes, slay girl, do your thing. So I really love this book. It was just such a well-rounded book. It's still a fluffy romance, of course, but it just had like funny moments, it had romantic moments, and it had like kind of deeper topics that they talked about. So I really enjoyed this book. I did give it a 5 out of 5 stars, like I said, but low-key I think this is like a 6 stars, especially because I read it after such like an emotional and kind of deep book like The Last Love Note, and then I read this one, so I think that might be why I'm feeling like it was a 6 like star read. But yeah, I really like this and I definitely recommend it. It's perfect for summer because the story takes place during the summer. So if you're looking for a book to read this summer, I think you should check this one out. If you like romance, this was a very, very good read. So those are all the books that I read for the month of April. If you guys enjoyed today's video and if any of these books stood out to you or you've read them before, I would love to know your thoughts. So definitely leave a comment down below. I love replying to you guys and just chatting all bookish things with you. So definitely leave me a comment. Also, if you're not already subscribed, make sure you hit the subscribe button. I'm not sure where on the screen it is, but definitely make sure you subscribe. I have a lot of fun things coming up. I also am planning a little giveaway on here soon. So if you do enjoy my content, make sure that you hit the subscribe button. So with all that being said, I hope you guys have a beautiful, magical, and wonderful day, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!